At first glance, these splits look all over the place until you see the hills. Now, in this week's Parkrun Progress Report, we're looking at Jess Bray's Parkrun of 21:17 in Dunedin on the weekend, 23rd of May 2026, for number 596. That's an impressive feat. Over 10 years of organising Dunedin Parkrun. Big kudos to the team down there. I still need to get down there and run the course, considering I used to live on the course. And people might think they know the course. No one lives in the botanical gardens, but yes, so I used to live in the caretaker's house 25 odd years ago. Anyway, let's have a look at Jess's performance. Now, some of the data is a little bit mismatched. I've drawn some of it here, particularly the power and the heart rate data from Training Peaks, and you can see these big hills on the various laps. I've also taken some data from Strava here, but we've only got cadence available and pace. And Jess also did a warm-up and cool down mixed in with this data. So it's a collection of things. It might be that I'm talking about something and you think, wait a minute, there's not 48 meters of elevation gain in this kilometer. When we get the actual third kilometer from over here, yes, there is. So it's a mismatch of data. And it's a really impressive run from Jess, one that shows a combination of strong aerobic fitness, excellent cadence stability, smart race management over a challenging course, and importantly, a very good climbing resilience. When you first look at the splits of 401, 355, 459, 442, and 405, it would be easy to think that pacing fell apart. But once elevation is factored in, the story changes completely. The course profile changes everything, and the key context here is Dunedin Parkrun is not flat, and those middle kilometres contain substantial climbing, especially the third kilometre with 48 metres elevation gain. That's huge in the context of a 5 kilometre. So trying to interpret the pacing without terrain would massively misread the performance. The opening 2 kilometres were aggressive, 401, 355. Those are fast opening splits, but importantly, power remained relatively stable. Cadence remained exceptionally stable, and heart rate rose appropriately rather than explosively. And that tells us this wasn't reckless overpacing. This was confident, committed running. Cadence consistency is elite level positive. Cadence 183, 182, 176, 178, 178. This is probably the most impressive metric in the run because cadence barely changes despite major elevation changes. That tells us excellent rhythm, efficient mechanics, strong neuromuscular control, and very good uphill composure. A lot of runners will dramatically overstride uphill, losing rhythm or grinding their cadence down. Jess largely didn't. That's a big strength. The climbing kilometres were actually very strong. Third kilometre, 459, 48 metres climbing. Honestly, that is solid because the average power only dropped to 266 watts. That suggests she was still working strongly, but intelligently adjusting output for terrain. This wasn't blowing up. This was responding appropriately to the difficult section, which is a big difference. The fourth kilometre is underrated, 442. Another 42 metres of climbing, but power rises back to 274 watts. Cadence stabilizes to 178 beats per minute. Strides. Heart rate actually drops slightly to 165 beats per minute. That's really interesting because it suggests Jess regained control very well after the steepest section. And that's often where mentally strong runners separate themselves. The final kilometre is excellent. 405 split to finish. That's a huge positive because after 2 climbing heavy kilometres, accumulated fatigue and significant elevation stress, Jess still lifted pace, maintained rhythm, and finished strongly. That says a lot about durability, aerobic conditioning, and race composure. Heart rate tells an intelligent story. Heart rate of 155 beats per minute in the first kilometre, 170, 171, 165, and 157 to finish with. This is fascinating. The drop late strongly suggests that the downhill terrain-assisted finish reduced cardiovascular strain. That aligns perfectly with her low power later in the event, but still good pace. So the finishing split isn't just sprinting harder, it's using the train efficiently, and that's smart racing. Power profile, if we jump back over to Training Peaks, shows controlled effort management. Power in the first kilometre of 293 watts on average, 277, 266, 274, and 215 for the final kilometre. That tells us Jess adjusted effort appropriately for the terrain, avoided catastrophic spikes, and distributed effort sensibly across the course. That's mature pacing on a hilly route. And what this run really showed, this wasn't a flat course pacing exercise. This was highly terrain influenced performance requiring constant adjustment, and Jess handled that really well. The biggest positive, honestly, the biggest positive is probably how stable she stayed mechanically under the climbing stress. That's a huge marker of running economy and composure. Overall, this is best described as a very strong, intelligently managed hilly parkrun performance, showing excellent cadence stability, strong climbing composure, and impressive late run durability. My final coaching point is that strong runners don't just hold pace on the hills, they hold rhythm, and Jess did that exceptionally well. So that's Jess's run, a really strong example of how good runners don't just manage pace on the hill, they manage rhythm. And honestly, her cadence stability across those climbing sections was one of the most impressive parts of the entire performance. If you'd like me to break down your own parkrun or 5 kilometre like this, pacing, cadence, power, heart rate, and exactly where your next gains can come from, you can apply for your own parkrun progress report at the link down below. Ka kite anō, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.